You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to the anniversary episode 52 of Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. He wanted 35 young boys to call him Master Matt Lowe.
Jeez.
And how she has energy left to deal with us after firing off story after story, I don't know. Jessica Salaji.
Here I am.
Here you are. How are you?
I'm great. How are y'all?
I am beat. Like, I didn't realize that endeavoring upon a room-by-room remodel of my home over the course of 8 months and taking the position of Scoutmaster with the local Boy Scout troop and having a big-ass family and a full-time job was going to be as demanding on my time as it is, but here we are.
Don't forget your double-dipping side job.
Shh. Yes, my double-dipping side job. Which is doing well.
How are you, Dave?
I'm doing well. Bringing heat to the people again because Georgia doesn't know what it wants in weather.
That is very true. On Tuesday, I went for a walk outside of the park just to get some fresh air. And when I got there, it was 80. And I watched a bunch of storm clouds move in. And I walked for 40 minutes. And as I moved in, it got dark and the temperature dropped to 60.
I ran my air conditioner in my house last night.
God bless you. God bless you, people.
What?
Heat and air in the same day.
Right?
The people that are unaware that you can just open a window, God bless you.
I don't want to open a window. There's bugs and things outside that they want to fly in.
just ugh. Well, we are getting into our 10th Amendment edition. Yes, the founders actually did think there should be a 10th Amendment. So Tennessee is asserting the 10th Amendment for probably all the wrong reasons. They're calling it the Tennessee Natural Marriage Defense Act. Matt is the only married member of the show. Do you feel
not married?
Well, I'm sorry.
Not for long.
Not for longer after the text I just got. Do you feel your marriage needs to be defended?
No. In fact, like one of the very first things that I said to my now wife when she first brought up the subject of marriage was, I really don't see a reason to get the state involved in this. Like it's going well, And she sat on that for 6 months or something. And I thought it was a done thing. I thought, that conversation was over. I was, we were living together. I thought all was well. And I'll never forget it. We were we went to Steak and Shake. It was a Sunday. And I'd been on a gun buying spree.
We're all shocked.
Right? And we were sitting there and I was talking about some other gun that I wanted now. And she goes, I don't think that I want to see you buying another gun till I have a ring on my finger. So Sunday night at like 8:30, I call like the first jewelry store that popped up in jewelry store near me when I Google searched it, and the guy answered as a local locally owned store. He answered. I was like, "Oh, you're open." He's like, "No, but I'm here. Come on down if you want." And we went down and bought a ring. That's
nice.
Crazy romantic, I know, but
Oh, I got you beat.
oh yeah.
And by the way, I meant the only other married member, but I never proposed. I was told.
Oh yeah.
This is the date. It was so far out, I thought it would never happen. I said, okay.
It just never came off the calendar.
You put it on my calendar, it stays.
So, talking about like the need for marriage and all of that, when I lived in Atlanta, I still have a very, like, if someone just wants to have a life partner, whether they're heterosexual or a homosexual or polygamous, whatever they want to call it, like, if you want to not have the state involved, like, I totally respect that, and I'm not judgy. But living in South Georgia, like, it's so taboo down here still, and they still have such a antiquated view. Like, they don't understand that they can be recognized in the church without being recognized by the government. And I think that's, like, one of the things I have a biggest conflict with. But for that reason, like, I would just still do it just because I don't want to have to deal with the blowback of judgy Bible belters.
Well, I will tell you, it's a huge difference for members of the military when you deploy.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Because fiance, they go, oh, yeah, don't give her your passwords. Wife, oh yeah, absolutely. She needs to be in charge of everything. Here's the phone numbers to the family support unit. Here's this. And I have no idea if that's changed. And that may.
And by the way, you get more money.
And you get more money.
Right.
You know, getting married used to be as simple as writing it down in the family Bible. And that was it. You went to your minister, you pulled out your family Bible, you wrote it down. When the baby was born, you pulled out that same Bible and you wrote down that baby, and you recorded deaths right there, and that was it. And that's how it was recorded before we decided to get the government involved.
Right. No, man, I've always said that as far as I'm concerned, marriage was a promise between two people and God.
But you know what I have a problem with? And we're like, this is really getting off in the philosophical weeds, I think. But I think it's, like, relevant to the conversation. Like, when did the churches stop being, like, autonomous in this standpoint? Like, it used to be recognized in the churches or the place of worship, and then the government got involved, and now the government's involved, and so the church is like, do you have your license? Why can I not just stand before my minister and be married?
The date, I have no idea. I assume that's along the time that Brigham Young.
FDR.
I was going to say Brigham Young came around, and they decided that polygamy was morally wrong. We're going to make laws against it. I just think that would be my guess. Sorry.
I mean, no. I just was getting at, like, I think the churches or the places of worship in general have failed their congregations in that standpoint. Like, if I just want to be recognized by my church, that should be a thing still. And I think you would be hard pressed to find a church that's like, yeah, we'll perform a ceremony for you here, but it's not actually like a real wedding until you get your license. I think the churches have failed.
Well, and on that's one of the reasons that I was talking to a couple, and it was a same-sex couple. Right after the Supreme Court decision came down, they asked me what I thought of it. I said it was the right decision for the wrong reason. The Supreme Court should have come down and said government has no place validating the interpersonal relationships of individuals.
I agree. So this bill in Tennessee, it goes beyond that nonsense. It's called the Tennessee Natural Marriage Defense Act, which is quite the title. I'm sure they put a lot of effort into crafting that. the Natural Marriage Defense Act.
Right.
Marriage is not natural, by the way, not by state's means, just for the reasons we articulated.
I think that's really, like, that's a swipe at gay folks.
It is. But I would.
Of course it is, but I'm saying natural.
Anybody that's spent any amount of time in nature, like I have, there's a lot of homosexual behavior in the natural world.
Goes on hunt camp?
No, I'm talking about like the dang animals.
I understand that it's a
I don't know what
swipe
kind of hunting camp you went to.
No, that's absolutely where the swipe is supposed to be focused at, but I'm just saying it's not natural for government to be involved in marriage, so the irony is heavy there. But
right.
This is a bill that they've been trying to get passed for 3 years now, and it's supposed to be for one man, one woman, and they're saying that what was the federal court case?
Oh,
that SCOTUS ruled on. That it was void and has no effect, and it was unconstitutional. Like, and so the bill directs constitutional officers and employees not to issue marriage licenses for same-sex couples. They're directing people to go against a Supreme Court ruling and not apply the law equally.
Look, it'll never stand, but I'm pulling for them. And I'll tell you why. That means we in Georgia can decide that no gun law passed by the feds applies here. We can decide any federal law just doesn't apply in the state of Georgia. I think we had a disagreement about this in the 1800s. And I think that the folks down here lost on that one.
right.
But yeah, I tell you what, if you start taking that stuff and you apply that statute saying that it only applies nationally, does not apply in the state, and we're going to assert the 10th Amendment, I want my machine gun.
Right now.
Right.
I agree with what you're saying, but we know that it won't be a domino effect for, asserting state sovereignty, because as a reminder, states don't have rights. They assert sovereignty.
And you know what I say is tongue in cheek.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's not like it's not like they're doing this to see if they can get away with it, and then it's just going to be like a free for all of the 10th Amendment. Like, we know that's not what this is. This is a select group of people who think that they're morally and legally superior to another group of people.
That would be Christians.
I've got a little different take on that.
I don't know. Not all Christians think. I would disagree that it's Christians, but
well, I think it's a handful of elected officials, not dissimilar to a law that's being proposed here, that are going to. They know it's not going to pass. They know it's not going to do anything. Even if it does pass, it's not going to pass muster. The state will waste money standing behind it. And so they can go back to their constituents and say, look at me, and take a picture and with their wife and their kids and put it on a mailer and say, oh, good Lord, I can't talk today. Says, Representative XYZ stands behind traditional families. That's exactly what it is. It's a tip of their cap to their base. And most likely these lawmakers don't even believe it.
Well, and even in this, where we're limited, in this limited forum that we are able to vocalize our opposition, we have been able to come up with a more articulate reason to be against it than the press secretary for the Human Rights Campaign, who called the legislation mean. Like, really, bro? You're going to say it's mean?
Come at me, bro.
he said some other things, too, like, it's not equitable, blah, blah, blah. But his first adjective to describe the legislation was mean. And I was reading the article, and I was like, you've got to be joking me. Like, you're one of the most prominent human rights organizations in the country, and you're going to use the word mean? It hurt my feelings. Well, you know what? Every bill that's been dropped in the Georgia legislature has hurt my feelings because I can't stand the stupidity. But here we are. It's mean.
It's mean.
Give me a break. It's mean.
And you know what? I never really liked the inequitable argument. I much preferred not the role of government. Because say it's not fair. Well, life's not fair. It's not equal protection. No, if you say that the law says one man, one woman, nothing says that one man can't marry a woman. So the equitable thing isn't even a thing to me. It's not the role of government to validate the personal relationships of its citizens. It's just absurd that I have to go beg the government to say, is it okay? And, to get off on a little bit of a tangent on it is not the government's place to say, well, you need to go take a class on how to be a married couple.
But
I agree. You shouldn't have to take a class to get divorced either.
But you do.
Apparently you do.
There's the parenting class you got to take.
Yeah, you're forced to go before an officiate to get married, and then you have to go before a judge to beg to get away from the insufferable woman. Matt.
Yep. And the first time they told me no.
Talk about an unfair sentence.
Right?
Now, these views are ours, and not necessarily those of all on Georgia. But if you like our views, let us know. Go ahead and give us a rating of all the stars, all the way to the right. If it's 4 stars, it's the maximum, give us 4. 5 is the maximum, give us 5. If you don't like us, give us 5 stars anyway. Yeah, I mean, don't stand on principle. We just need ratings. So, the Senate, not to be outdone by the House, has proposed their own, I'm going to use the most dangerous word in politics, bipartisan, what is it with me today? Bipartisan bill to increase legislators' pay.
Boo.
This bill would pay our 40-day part-time employees the median
$1,400 a day.
The median household annual income.
$1,400 a day. $1,400 a day.
The median household annual income.
For 40 days. Now, I will give them that it's not 40 days, it's 3 months because of the days they right now it is, because of the days they spread in between it. But they don't have to do it that way. They could just go for...
I could argue that it's not even 40 days. If you look at their schedule, it's like Monday from 9 to 5, Tuesday from 2 to 4. We're going to take Wednesday off. Thursday, we'll work another full day Thursday. Half a day on Friday, you're off the weekend. It's that.
But they have days in between the 40 is what I'm saying.
Like, oh, yeah. Where there's straight up days off.
Yeah, like day 2 is on a Monday, and then day 3 isn't until Thursday. And so they spread it out. So, I mean, they're adjourning April 2nd this year, and they went into session January 14th. That's more than 40 days. But let's just pretend that all of the days they have in between are for committees and appropriations and the budget and things that are actually worthwhile. We'll give them 3 months, let's just say. Which in real life is not real, but we'll just give that to them.
$220,000 a year.
You want the median annual household income for 3 months.
Do you think they're setting the stage?
Yes.
So for a year-round
I really feel strongly that they are, because the constant argument, whether it's from past elected officials or current elected officials or lobbyists or people who just sit on their knees to get Christmas cards from these people, their constant argument is, well, good people can't afford to take time off work, and, we should pay them more. Okay, we pay Congress $175,000 a year. And what do we have to show for it?
Yeah, point out the good ones.
Gridlock. So,
a
lot.
The thing about this one that's terrifying is that it is bipartisan. Like, Jeff Mullis is the rules chairman, and he's also the one who is supporting two-party consent and the Confederate Memorial bull crap.
Oh, yeah, he's the liar.
Yeah.
Not the.
But, they already presented that bill to raise it to $29,000. If that passed, I would be livid, but at least that's in line with other states on the medium to low end still. Like, at least I don't want it. I don't support it. I would encourage anyone to vote against it, and I would vote against anyone who voted in favor of it. However, it's not $56,000. This $56,000 is a 350% increase.
Jessica,
maybe that's why they put this one out there. So you'd be like, vote for the other one because it's not that one.
Now I don't have a copy of the other bill in front of me. I'm just going off of memory, but wasn't that going to be a ballot resolution?
It was a constitutional amendment.
Right. So that would have to go to the people. And I think they figured out that no matter who they get to write that thing, most people aren't going to vote them a raise.
The thing that's so dangerous about this median income one is that, yes, it can go up and down slightly, but it can go up without legislative approval.
Right.
And, it can tick up every year while we're not even watching, and there's not a dang thing we can do about it because it's according to the American Community Survey for the census. So they're doing this survey every year, and our lawmakers are just making more, and maybe every fourth year they might make, $1,000 less. Boo-hoo.
Right.
It is permanent and perpetual. It is.
Fired, forget.
They will never have to do it again. It's sort of like the gas tax. They will never have to look at it again. And every year will be some new legislator that comes in that tells everybody he's going to vote to slash salaries. He's going to introduce the bill, and it's going to die. It's going to die in committee, and he'll go back to his constituency, say, "Look, I tried."
Right.
And just that's it will be permanent. That's the thing, is to say it's going to go up to 29.9. As much as I don't think that's appropriate, at least that's a number.
Right. It's concrete. It would, and if it's a constitutional amendment, it would take a constitutional amendment to change it.
Right.
Or to at least repeal it. So, because you'd have to repeal it before you could have it changed. So it would be a very intense process that it at least would be painful for them. This is just asinine, and it makes no mention of repealing per diems, which are $175 a day outside of session, plus their retirement, plus their insurance, plus their reimbursements, plus their office salaries of $7,000 every year. How much? When is enough going to be enough?
Travel, lodging.
Yeah, all the stuff that they can charge to their campaign account. They can charge their phones, they can charge car service, all this kinds of nonsense to their campaign expenses, and then you sweep in with $56,183. Tax that in the highest bracket. Make me go all Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on them. 70%.
And it is amazing to me that, I don't even know. I don't know who can vote for this.
Whatever, if it passes, I'm running.
I would like to say that if you tax them at 70%, it brings them back down to 17.1. So I could, if you want to do that, I'll support it. But
no, that'd be just that essentially be taking them. They're 17.1 and saying you're tax exempt. But congratulations on making the 29.9 for 40 days work seem reasonable.
Right.
Now, keep in mind,
$1,400 a day.
now, when they're getting their days off during their 40 days, they're getting paid. And they're getting paid their per diem. So when they take a Wednesday off and they have to go to a committee meeting to look at the budget, aren't they getting paid?
No.
No?
No. The 40 days are the per diem is for outside of the legislative session.
Okay. So they only get their travel and lodging and everything else.
Well, I mean, yeah, because most of them, if you don't live in the metro area, you pay for your short-term apartment or wherever your hotel or whatever. It usually comes from your campaign funds. So, and then you have $7,000 for your office budget, which cannot be used for housing, but it can cover other expenses. I mean, it's just... I'm sorry. You're a state lawmaker. Your job is not that hard. It does not cost that much to run your office and to do the job.
And your admin is supplied.
Yep.
It's shared, but supplied. It's not $7,000 to get your own administrative assistant. This is literally office expense.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, you literally have no office expenses. You don't have to pay for internet. You don't have to pay for phone, building. We're doing all that for you. You're welcome.
I'm not stationary.
Free.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure what falls under office expense.
Aids and any mailers you send out as an official lawmaker and not as your campaign self, and
quote unquote.
Quote unquote. My mom's been blowing. All these articles I've been writing, I've decided to put their email addresses at the bottom of every article. My mom has been blowing up people's emails.
How has she been addressing the emails?
I don't know. I don't even ask because I don't want to know. She has a different last name than me, so they can't directly associate it. But the other day she's like,
it's not like those New Jersey folks.
Yeah, those damn jewelers up in New Jersey. But, yeah, she texted me the other day and she's like, I called so-and-so and told them to stop screwing around doing this and instead do this. And I was like, cool. Great. Block your number.
Okay, now we have another little gem here. Protecting Religion in Public Schools. HB 53. Which is co-sponsored by 2 Paulding County representatives.
Thanks for them.
Micah Gravely, and in his hip pocket, Martin Mumptahan. I say that. I know the both of them. I do. They're good guys. I know the both of them. But after Martin won his primary, if you saw Micah, Martin was 3 steps behind.
Well, the thing about this bill, and I feel like we're going to talk about it in depth, but it sounds like a fantastic idea. And it addresses students and teachers and in public schools and their religious expression. And I was proud that they used a broad term like religious expression, because when you look at the fact that it's a bunch of suburban guys and one of them's a pastor, you assume that it's to protect Christians. So I liked they were broad. And I think that almost all of the protections that they offer for students are appropriate, even though they're duplicative. What they're trying to do for teachers, I feel like this is just trying to scoot in teacher protections under the guise of protecting students and children, and I don't like it, and that makes it feel dirty.
And Matt, what does duplicative mean?
Double up. Duplicate.
Well, I say that because I feel like all of this is specifically for the students is protected under the First Amendment and
case law.
Yeah, time and time again, the courts have ruled students can discuss religion. They can wear crosses. They can wear shirts that say Jesus saves. They can have a bumper sticker on their car. That has not been the question, which is why my personal opinion is that this is for teachers under the guise of those precious babies who just want to wear their Jesus Save stuff.
Right.
Now, Matt, I know you're not a sports ball person either, but I kind of get the feeling that Jessica's right on that one. I mean,
well, I'm always right.
Impersonating my wife will get you nowhere. Matt, you're my age. I mean, do you remember coaches kneeling with the players and praying at a football game?
Well, and it was it student led at that time, or was it actually coach?
It was student led.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not that old. I'm not old enough to remember when teachers led the prayer. I mean, I remember getting taught evolution and having to have the disclaimer that this is a theory. And, the only part of the bill I don't like about this is it specifically gives employees and teachers cover to discuss religion at work with coworkers.
So I haven't really seen a whole lot of press on this. And the reason that I was slow to write about it is because it was a little bit longer. And of course, I really wanted to make sure I understood it before I wrote about it. But it sparked a lot of interesting conversation and people talking about, like, a teacher's right in a government school and on public property and this, that, and the other. Because, like, for the rest of us, we're like, it's public property. If I want to take my kid to school in a hat that says, I don't know, anything you want. Like, we assume public property, but when you're a teacher, you're considered an agent of the state. And it really sparked a conversation about, like, this specifically says that they can decorate their desks and offices and things like that with religious material. And I felt like that kind of crossed the line. It's public property. You want to affix a cross on a wall in a school because that's your expression. I feel like that's a little bit much.
Here's the thing. Yeah, it's fine. But, are you going to lose your mind when it's a Muslim teacher that starts putting his religious paraphernalia all over it? Or what about a Wiccan who starts hanging, goat skulls and stuff?
Well, see...
And I don't mean that directed at you specifically, but...
Yeah, I guess, you said, yeah, that's fine. But I would disagree with even that because, this isn't like... This has been... I was reading some of the cases on it before our show, and I was surprised at how far back the controversy goes. Obviously, religion and government and separation of church and state and where it starts and stops is nothing new. But, like, the actual idea of how many times teachers have taken issues to the Supreme Court and how many times the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court have said your expression is limited when you walk in the building. One of them said that districts can constitutionally require teachers to remove religious books from their classroom and cannot read the Bible while they're sitting at their desk during quiet reading. That's a strong constitutional case right there. And this is in direct contradiction with that.
The endorsing versus participating argument is interesting. If being a meathead, if the team all kneels and prays before a game, it's okay. But if the coach kneels along with him or bows his head with him, takes his hat off and bows, they're saying that's an endorsement, and that's a government endorsement since he's in a power position. And I'm not, and I really don't know where I am on that.
Well, to take it one step further, there were some, I think it was at the elementary school down here in Brooklet. People know where Brooklet is. where they had a prayer going on, student-led, and they made the teachers turn their backs and face the other way to assert that they were not supporting it. That makes it look like it's wrong. So there's there's a fine line in disclaiming something to the point where you're sending the message that what someone's doing is wrong or taboo, which what the whole bill is talking about is if you can be in a Republican group or you can be in a band advocacy group or a beta club, you have to, in a Christian group forms, you have to be able to give them the same type of classroom, the same sponsorship, the same ability to advertise in the school. Well, you don't see teachers turning their back on the beta club. So disclaiming can be just as dangerous. That's why saying nothing is the best policy.
Well, and where I was going with the teachers discussing religion at work, and it was, the work is not the place to discuss sex, politics, or religion. It just isn't. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to wear, and I don't know, no teachers wear jackets anymore, but your lapel pins across, or if you've got a little cross on a chain, I don't think that's a problem. If you've got a crucifix on the wall, a 6-foot crucifix hanging in the wall as soon as your students walk in the classroom, probably. And I don't, not being an attorney and not being as wise as our lawmakers are, I don't know how to verbalize the difference between the two, other than to say what the Supreme Court said it must have been a congressional hearing talking about pornography. I can't describe it, but I know it when I see it.
Sure, but then you're right back in the courts of them deciding, and you can't even distinguish between what a teacher's wearing versus what they affix to the building because it's public property, because there was another case where a district court said that the teacher cannot wear a t-shirt that says Jesus 2000, J2K. So, there are a number of people, even Christians, it really surprised me. And it was something that I never really thought about because, I wear a cross every day, and I would have never thought, as a teacher, to hide that or, take it off. I wouldn't have even considered that. But there were plenty of people who commented and said, you're a state employee. You have, and their point was that you have authority over students, and so you need to give the most objective perception possible.
Well, it's the same reasoning that it is perfectly legal for a 30-year-old to have an affair with an 18-year-old. It is, however, illegal for a teacher to have an affair with even an 18-year-old senior because of the authority idea.
Man, here's the thing. What the hell are we doing here? The idea that all of this, that any of it, I don't know, going back and looking at that Supreme Court thing where, the teacher was using his quiet time to silently read the Bible. Who the hell gets offended over that and sues? What the hell? I don't know. I guess, I understand separation of church and state, blah, 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 whatever else, but man, freaking.
Well, remember, the First Amendment does not really say the separation.
Right, no, I know.
That argument pops up. Separation. That's not really what it says. It protects against the establishment of a religion. So you're not establishing a religion to have a picture of your baby on your desk that says, "My little angel." Or on this date, Jesus gave us little Johnny. That's not establishing a religion.
Right. I don't know. I just think the whole thing. I always get a little weird about conversations about laws pertaining to this because I just can't imagine how miserable some person has to be with their life in general to be offended by that. Now, I realize that also goes the other way, and that if it was a teacher quietly using her, I said her, her planning period or whatever to thumb the pages of the Necronomicon, there's somebody that would take offense to that, and there'd be a court case about it. But
and that teacher would be protected. That's been protected for a while. A teacher that needs to go into a teacher's lounge and pull out the prayer mat, or a student that needs to go out in the hallway during class or whatever and face east. That hasn't even been a thing in probably 20 years.
But wouldn't you agree that this bill would allow them to just do it in the classroom? Or, I mean, this gives an opportunity for, as long as they're not being disruptive. I don't know. I mean, you were talking about where, who has the time, or what are they doing that they're doing this. Like for me, it's about, where do you draw the line? And I think that the state is overstepping. Someone said that, if we have the Equal Access Act of 1984, that's just full stop. That's where it starts and ends, and that this is overstepping that.
I think it's
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it's up to the individual schools and the school systems to write standards. Whether it's dress code, you're not going to wear a T-shirt. Whether it's how you decorate your classroom, the walls are going to have academic stuff. Your desk may have personal tchotchkes not more than 3 inches in size, whatever it is, and be very non-specific. Whether it's a gator holding, standing up, holding, dressed in blue and orange, holding up a sign, or if it's a cross, it's going to be 3 inches or less. You're allowed to have 3 tchotchkes on your desk or whatever. It's going to come down to those standards for the schools to handle. And so we don't get a crucifix hanging on the wall. We don't get a teacher wearing a T-shirt with a graphic of Christ dying on the cross, or we don't get a teacher who decides that she's going to buck the system as a Wiccan and wear a pentagram through the school. Once you come up with those standards of dress and those standards of how we're going to present our classrooms, I think this whole thing goes away. Of all the ones that have come out, this is the least offensive because it does the least.
You know what? No, I don't know, though. There's that caveat in there, as when I read the bill earlier, where it's talking about, I always get a little twisted up when I see verbiage like that, where it's talking about using obscene language or vulgar or whatever, because I'm always like my first question is, well, who gets to decide?
Eric does, because he bleeps me. I could not feel more apathetic towards any piece of legislation than I do towards this one, because it doesn't do much. It doesn't. If a Muslim teacher puts a Quran on his or her desk, Matthew, it just doesn't move my meter one way or the other.
Right. That's really where I'm at on it. It's like, man, in 2019, with all of the nonsense, this is the conversation that we're having.
And the why, in my honest opinion, is to make faith and freedom happy. Because when one of the leaders of Faith and Freedom ends up on the governor's transition team, you best tip your cap.
Their faith, their freedom, yeah. Right.
So RFRA is not going to happen. It's just not. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to even try to float it out on changeover day. It's just not. No one the threat of losing the movies is too much. It's just not going to happen. They're going to float this out there as saying, look what we did for religious freedom. A bill would mandate manufacturers level the playing field for repair companies in mobile devices.
So this bill, House Bill 286, by State Representative Scott Turner, Clay Perkle, and Robert Dickey, all Republicans, in quotations, Republicans, they want to require manufacturing companies to offer parts, information, manufacturing materials to independent service providers and owners of equipment or repair equipment places, so that they can have the information they need to repair things that are locked, like phones or tractors or software, things like that. It's called the Right to Repair Act, which is a bogus name because you don't have a right to do anything with regard to repairs. But basically, a lot of manufacturing companies have contracts with authorized repair shops, so that they have exclusive rights to repair if you're not sending it back to the manufacturer. And independent and not authorized retailers or repair entities can't repair the equipment, or they don't have everything they need to do it. This would level the playing field and make everyone under the force of law, with threat of the Attorney General's office, they would be forced to release, these companies would be forced to release it to everyone, so that everyone could be able to repair the information or repair the products themselves without having to figure out, I guess, the ins and outs of it by themselves. And it's an exclusion for motor vehicles, because we kind of already do that in a sense. But it basically kind of applies to electronics and things like that. The bill sponsor says that it's to protect the property rights of people who have purchased something, but in reality, it's not doing that at all. It's saying that someone who comes up with a product that they sell to the public, and the public agrees to the terms and conditions of that purchase, which may include how it's repaired, they're saying that would be no longer valid under the law, and that if you purchase something, you have more rights to do various things with it than the people who manufacture it. So.
And and Matt, I certainly don't want to cut you out of it, but I have similar stuff in our industry. You have manufacturer authorized people who can only buy certain levels of equipment. Like an average company can go and buy a basic builder grade piece of, as regular listeners know, I own a heating and air company. But if you want to get the really nice stuff, you've got to be factory trained and authorized to make sure that you install it the right way, that your installers are trained the right way, because you represent the manufacturer at that level. So when I go take my iPhone over to Bob's iPhone repair, and then it doesn't run right, I'm going and complaining to all my friends about this POS iPhone I bought, like you do, Matt, about the phone that you got that used to drop out every other word.
Yes. Really, my thoughts on it are really more as to like what is prompting this, like what happened in this dude's life, Representative Turner, that he feels compelled to do this.
He works in the IT industry. He consults for technology companies.
Oh, so.
It's a total conflict of interest.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I would guess if you went through his donors list, you're...
He doesn't take any donors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's super principled in his own mind. He also term limited himself, so thankfully this is his last term.
This is the Uber guy, right?
This is the Uber guy. And... it's just, to reiterate, he has no, this is how you protect your brand.
Right.
I mean, this is how companies protect themselves. Because when you have an authorized retailer, you have an agreement with them. Sometimes those authorized retailers pay a fee to be a part of that. I mean, there's no place to be meddling in this.
Absolutely. And the fee can be the cost of education. Sending your technicians to their school to be able to work on their equipment, or even paying to get into the WebEx to do an online course. There's an inherent cost as a business owner of getting your people factory trained.
Right. You know, factory authorized, factory trained, whatever. I think those words carry meaning with consumers.
Well, it still will mean something in terms of skill level, I hope. But in terms of, like, I mean, you're taking away something. It's just like, you know, when you go on to get more education. Like, it's the same concept.
Yeah, why should a company be able to eliminate someone without a college degree? I mean, it's just not fair that all these law firms require passing the bar. That's ridiculous.
Is it possible that this is just a backdoor law enforcement thing in getting a way for law enforcement to be able to unlock iPhones?
That's an interesting point, and I think that that's maybe an unintended consequence or a possible unintended consequence, because it does say that it has to be provided through secure forums or whatever. But I will give Scott credit. He has been like an advocate against like, what is that, the infrared surveillance, and he's been the sponsor of repealing civil asset forfeiture practices in Georgia, like, year after year. He's just irrelevant in the legislature, so none of his bills ever go anywhere. But I don't think that he would do something sneaky like that. Like, he sucks, but I don't think he sucks on that level.
He's incompetent, not evil.
You hear that, Turner? You suck, just not that bad.
Yeah.
You're wrong, but not for that reason. You know, look. And even in my business, if we go out, if my guys go out and install brand new equipment in your house, and then you have Bob from down the street, bucket a truck come over there and fiddle with it, your warranty's over.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You let somebody put their filthy hands on the equipment I put in, it's over. Now, if you have an issue, if there's anything that comes up, I absolutely back our work 100%. If I find out that you've had the cover off of it and had your hands in there trying to screw with stuff, that's on you. Not saying we won't fix it, but that's where, besides the fact that companies like proprietary stuff so they can protect it and they can make money, but that's really the in earnest reason behind having factory authorized service is they know the people who are working on it are qualified to do it.
Right. And just having the information to be able to do it does not make you qualified to do it. Just having the parts to do it does not make you qualified to do it. And I just, the idea of calling yourself a limited government conservative, not just a Republican and having the R after your name, but actually like championing yourself as a limited government conservative and sponsoring a bill that forces a business to reveal information so that it's fair makes me want to kick him in the shins.
Well,
that's not what you were going to say.
You ever been kicked in the shins? It hurts really, really bad.
No, man. I always bang my shins on like the coffee table,
the corner of the bed.
Oh, yes. The coffee table is for the little toe. Trailer hitch.
Oh my God.
But and the other thing, what you're talking about, anybody can get the parts. If you look at the reviews of and again, my professional experience is with air conditioning, some air conditioning companies, and you read the reviews of why people hate them, then you go back, you find out that unlicensed, untrained people were putting them in. Well, that's not the manufacturer's fault. And on your point, Jessica, this has become his modus operandi. This session is, I'm going to claim to be principled, I'm going to claim to be a small government, but the government's going to tell private industry how they're going to go about their business. And
then you're gonna put under the guise of the Attorney General's Fair Standard Business or Fair Business Practice Act or whatever it is. I mean, that can damage a business's credibility if you have like a lien or a judgment for something like that against you, and simply not complying with the government's orders to release your privileged information that you created. What?
how is it enforceable? How is this any more enforceable than we were talking about last week with New Jersey and the interwebs? How is it enforceable for them to tell Apple, who's what, they're out of Seattle?
Yeah.
Hey, you have to get this information. Go F yourself.
Yeah, here's my middle finger.
Right. No, but you have to if you want to operate in Georgia. Oh,
you know
okay.
what I would say? You know what I would say? Okay, we are no longer going to sell iPhones in Georgia.
Right.
And we're going to call it the Scott Turner Initiative and see how long it lasts.
Right. You're going to tell...
That's how you play this game.
You're going to tell an international company based out of somewhere else that they have to release their trade secrets. Well, their confidential information.
Everything but the trade secrets.
Right. To anybody who goes down to the courthouse and gets himself a business license and calls himself a cell phone repair company.
Well, you know what it also kind of puts in jeopardy is non-competes. Like if you work for not just Apple, but any technology company or something, and you learn the ins and outs and you sign a non-compete to not operate in that market, and then you leave and everything is available, like that's null and void, you know?
You know, absolutely. And I think we're all in an agreement that Scott Turner...
This bill sucks.
Yeah, this bill sucks, and Scott Turner needs to go away. Anywhere. Just go ahead and hang a D after your name, and or an S, and go reinvent yourself, because that's obviously, you feel that the role of government...
Go reinvent yourself.
Well, do we have any closing thoughts?
You know, I do, sort of.
Master Matt?
Y'all heard me talk about the LWCF back in the fall.
Oh.
It Senate Bill 47. It passed the Senate, and it reauthorized funding for LWCF. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now it's just got to get through the House.
Matt, you're gonna have to speak to me like I'm 4. Do what?
The LWCF, Land and Water Conservation Fund. It's that fund that it pays for things. Hell, there's a thing in Paulding County that's been paid for part of the Silver Comet Trail. Can
we get some fireworks sound effect here, that on the 52nd show, the anniversary of episode 1, where Matt's closing thoughts were public land, he's closing on the 1-year anniversary on public lands.
No, this isn't. That LWCF isn't necessarily public land. I mean, it is, but it's not. But it's
a fund that pays for stuff. That's how you explained it.
It is a fund that pays for things, but it's not tax money. And there's not a single county in the nation that hasn't had a project funded by LWCF. Sometimes it's a park, sometimes it's a swimming pool, lots of stuff down in Florida.
So public land.
With the fishing, offshore stuff, boat docks, ramps, things of that nature get funded.
Jessica?
I just don't even know. Everyone sucks. Everything sucks. Your government sucks. And the people you elect suck.
So we will get the happy Jessica back the second week of April.
Right.
Yes.
Scott Turner, you suck.
Yeah.
Speaking of, if I live another 100 years...
You won't.
Hearing the term blackface will be too soon. I'm tired of it. I didn't like it when they went after Kavanaugh for stuff he did 35 years ago. I don't like it when they go after a Democratic governor over stuff he did 35 years ago. I don't care what Ted Danson did. I don't care. I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear about the hypocrisy. I don't want to hear it from the right. I don't want to hear it from the left. If I hear the term blackface again, it's just too damn soon. Drop it. There are real issues.
You know, Doug Mataconis, who is a pundit, put out an article that he wrote that was like, should we have a statute of limitations on the political lives of people? And I kind of feel like we should. Like, I don't know how you would even determine that, but I mean, how far back are we willing to go? Especially now that we have the world of social media, like no one's going to be elected. Everyone's going to be is going to have to resign, and it's going to be total chaos.
I think the way W handled it during his campaign was about right, and it was because he was a drinker. He was a prolific drinker. I'm not going to talk about anything I did before the age of 30. They're just not going to talk about it.
It's probably a good rule,
right? There you go, Jessica. Now you can talk about stuff that's only
the last 8 months.
Yeah, I was going to say they're 8 months old.
Not even 7 months.
But yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of maturing, especially. I mean, obviously, women mature much faster than men because I'm still not done cooking.
Right, I'm 12.
Yeah, but even the last 10 years of my life, the maturing that I've done, and I'm sure obviously I have a long way to go. You have to allow for that. We went from Robert Byrd being the second longest serving member of Congress and forgiven for all his stuff to, hey, look, we found a blurry yearbook picture when this guy was 23 years old. And it's the witch hunts are getting out of control. So yes, Jessica, I agree with you. That's a long-winded way of saying I agree with you. Everybody sucks.
Everybody sucks. Next week they'll still suck, and we'll tell you why.
Yes, please stay tuned for episode 53, where we'll have more complete and utter bullshit coming from the Gold Dome. Thank you for listening. For Matt Lowe, Jessica Szilagyi, I'm Dave Roberts. Talk to you next week.
Later.